with regards to the demon circuit. Okay. Give me 1 second. Handling 2 computers. Okay. And so as a result, as soon as she said the word circuit, I don't know if you can see this, you can probably see this. I have this book that has been on my shelf for ages. And when she talked about circuits, I immediately looked at this book, which is dealing with electrical circuits. And then the thought came to my mind, okay, well, how can I take that subject which she gave and then use the mathematics and the physics as a demo kit to explain the elements of a demon circuit? And that's the direction we'll be going today. So the learning objectives, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is just to kind of give a brief overview of it. And then God willing, we'll go more in depth on Sunday when we have a little more time to utilize. First thing we're going to address is what exactly is a circuit? And then we'll look at what is a demon circuit. We'll go into the tech to get some basics of what a demon circuit is. And then we'll see, can we find the equivalent of a demon circuit in the Holy Qur'an? Because we have to make that marriage between the supreme wisdom and the supreme technology. Then we're going to go into physics, just some basic physics, and use it as a demo kit to allow us to get a better explanation of a demon circuit. And then we're going to use some mathematics to do the same thing. So we're going to find a union or a correspondence between the tech of Dianetics and Holy Qur'an. We're going to use physics and mathematics as a demo kit. And God willing, as we go through all of this, we'll be able to utilize these concepts to gain a knowledge of self. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's see. Who is iPhone me? Is that you, Sister Anya, on the 2 devices again, or?
No, this is Sister Tina.
Sister Tina
it wouldn't let me in.
It wouldn't let you in?
It wouldn't let me in via Zoom.
Now, why is that?
It just kept loading and loading and loading. I tried about 4 times. So
Oh, that might be, it might be your router.
Oh, okay.
It might be on yours. Okay, so Sister Tina's on 240. And who's iPhone me?
Yes, that is me.
Okay, okay.
Me.
All right, so here we go. We'll start with the concept of circuits. Now you have in physics, you have what's called circuit analysis. In that book that I showed you a minute or so ago, here's the definition of what circuit analysis is. It's the analysis of the behavior of an electric current to see how it responds to a given input. So take, for example, you have an electrical wire, and I have a video we're going to use to kind of illustrate this. You have a certain input that you give, and your input for the example we're using. Let's think about an electronic device. Your input would be the battery. Does that make sense? Everyone with me?
Yes.
Okay. Your input,
Yes, sir.
your power source is your battery. And your battery, you have voltage, correct?
Yes, sir.
The voltage is the pressure that pushes the current through the wire. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So you have voltage, you have current, and then if the light comes on or the device is working, that in the language of electronics is called power, and that's in the language of wattage. So you have a 45 watt bulb or 60 watt bulb. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. Could you explain the wattage again?
Sure. When you put a bulb in the ceiling, when you buy the bulb, you look on the package to see what wattage it is. And the wattage will represent the brightness of that bulb. So some bulbs are 45 watts, some are 60 watts. The more wattage, the brighter the bulb. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The more wattage you get, the higher the wattage the bulb, the more energy it's going to use. Okay. So in a basic circuit, you have the voltage, you have, and I got a demo kit. I got something that we'll be able to see it. That way we can add some mass to what we're talking about. But this is just the main concept. The battery, the power source is the input. The light bulb, we could say, would be the output. Does that make sense? Y'all with me?
Battery.
Huh?
I'm just writing this down to draw a picture for myself. So the voltage is first, which goes into the battery. It pushes into the battery, and then the battery pushes into the source.
Do you have, I'm going to show you a video to give some mass of this. But I just wanted to give the three terms. The voltage is the pressure that pushes the current through the wire, which makes the light bulb turn on. Okay.
So in other words, we have start, change, stop. The battery would be.
That's where we're going. Yes, ma'am. You got it right
Yes.
there. Start, change, stop. Okay. Start, change, stop. So the battery is the start. The change is the wire. And we're stopping at the light bulb. Okay. So for example, can someone go to Surah 24, verse number 35, real quick, if you have it, if you have your Holy Qur'an handy. Does anyone have it?
Okay, what is it again?
Surah 24, verse number 35.
I have it, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Sister Denise.
35. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth.
Mm-hmm.
The likeness of his light is as a pillar on which is a lamp. The lamp is in a glass. The glass is, as it were, a brightly shining star, lit from a blessed olive tree, neither eastern nor western. The oil whereof gives light. Though fire touches not, light upon light. Allah guides to his light whom he pleases. And
Okay, so now let's look at that. Let's look at that for just a quick minute to kind of lay a foundation for what we're going to do. If this light, now the word light is al-nur. Okay, so we look at this light as a force and power that exists within us. Okay, then for that light to turn on in us, there has to be a flow and there has to be a source. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you look at though fire touch it not, how can we look at that and have it correspond to Dianetics? What would the fire be that doesn't touch it, which allows the light to come on?
Aberration.
Yes. So fire touch it not. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that could we use that ayat to explain that our light will become brighter as we remove the aberrations?
Oh, yes, sir.
Okay. What would it be in us that would power that light source to make our light brighter?
It would be the word.
The word. But it's not just the word. What do we have to do with respect to the word?
Have to make it live. We have to internalize it.
We have to internalize. We have to study. So when you look at that voltage pushes the current the same way that the minister says that desire feeds the will, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we have to have the will to study, and our will to study is fueled by our desire to study. And that desire and that study, the tech that allows us to remove the fire so the fire touch it not, will do what? It'll allow our light to become manifest. Could we say that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And could we say that the blessed olive tree is the source?
Yes, we could. So who would be the blessed olive tree?
Master Fard Muhammad, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
We could say because that light is lit by a blessed olive tree. You could say that as well. Yes, ma'am, most definitely. Okay. So in circuit analysis, we're explaining the relationship between the input, the circuit, and the output. Okay, that's the start, change, stop. So now if we look at it from a Dianetic standpoint, because we're dealing with demon circuits, the input, we would say, would be the verbal command that's a part of the engram, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The wire, we could say, represents the individual. And the output would represent the aberrated behavior. Can you see the correspondence between the physics and the way we can apply it to self?
So input, circuit, output. So with in regard to input, circuit, output, how does that go again?
The input would be the verbal command that's placed in a person during a state of pain or unconsciousness, remember? So part of the engram, unconsciousness and pain, but you have to have a verbal command. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's a part of the engram. The verbal command, which is also called the demon circuit. Now, in our language, we can call that the needle in the brain, correct? Okay. So we have the verbal command, that's the input. The individual represents the wire or the circuit. The output represents our behavior. So the command is like the battery, okay? The battery that fuels our aberration. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have I lost anyone? Or are we all flowing with this?
Yes, sir, but I have a question.
Sure.
Are we done with this verse out of the Quran, or are you going to come back to it later on?
Oh, I got some specific ayats we're gonna deal with. Did you have something you wanted to address right now while we got
are you going to go deeper into this particular verse later on, or have you done mentioning this one?
Oh, sir, that just popped off the top of my head. I have specific ayats we're going to deal with, but if you want to go deeper into that one, then that's fine.
Well, okay, so then I have a question about the pillar and the lamp and the glass and the brightly shining star and the blessed olive tree. As being I guess the blessed olive tree being Master Fard Muhammad, but I was trying to see why it breaks it down into the star, the glass, and the lamp, and the pillar.
I haven't cleared that ayat.
What's that?
I haven't actually cleared that ayat yet with regards to the tech. It was just something that came up as we were talking, but I'm quite sure there's something. But do you see something in that?
Well, I see that like if you get to the very source, and then from that source, just like you have the sun, moon, and stars, and each the moon reflecting the light of the sun,
Mhm.
and then you have the light of the stars. And so you have Master Fard Muhammad, you have the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. So I was just trying to see the analogy of the three
Mhm.
and how they would fit into the description that's given here.
Okay.
Um,
So you've given me another assignment.
Okay, yes, sir.
You give me another assignment because I'll be more than happy to try to see if I can crack that open with Allah's help, and then that'll be the grounds for a future Dianetics Zoom class.
Okay, yes, sir.
Definitely. So now, what is a circuit? This definition actually comes from the Dianetic Technical Dictionary. It says electricity, the complete path of an electric current, including usually the generating device, also by extension, any portion of such a path. When the path is complete, so that the electricity is free to flow, the circuit is a closed or made circuit, and any components that should be on the path. I thought I had corrected that, but on the path could be said to be in circuit. If the path is interrupted at any point, it is called an open or broken circuit, and any components on the path could be said to be out of circuit. Now, this circuit as a demo kit, we could use this to show the path of aberration. We could also use the same demo kit to explain tone scale or rising on the tone scale based on how we look at the circuit. But today we're going to look at the circuit based on this point of representing aberration. So it's a path, okay? It's a path that should be connected on every point. If you open the circuit, like when the lights are off in like right now, the lights are off in this bedroom, it's because the switch has been flipped. So the circuit is open. So the electrons don't flow. If I flip the switch, I'm completing the circuit and I'm allowing the electrons to flow, and that's what makes the lights turn on. Does that make sense? Okay, that's just the basic circuit. So here's a quick video. Listen carefully to what's being said, and then we're going to make the connection between this diagram and the tech of Dianetics. This is our first demo kit.
Let's begin by looking at how a simple circuit allows a light bulb to light. A circuit is a route through which electrical current can flow. In our example, electrons flow from the negative side of a D-cell battery to a conducting material on the base of the bulb. From there, the electrons flow up a wire that is inside the bulb and across the filament, which is the part of the bulb that actually lights. When the electrons go through the filament, some of the electrical energy is changed to heat and light energy. The electrons continue down another small wire inside the bulb to another conductor on the base of the bulb. The electrons finally make their way to the positive side of the battery. There would not be a complete circuit if the electrons did not travel to the positive side of the battery, and the bulb would not light. When there is an unbroken path on which electrons flow, as in this example, it is called a complete circuit. The unbroken path that the electrons follow is called a closed circuit, because electricity will only flow on an unbroken path. The light bulb will not light unless there is a closed circuit. Now look closely at the light bulb, and you'll notice that there is an insulator between the conductor that leads up to the filament and the conductor that leads away from the filament. Remember that the atoms of conductors easily accept and pass on electrons. The atoms of insulators do not. As we discussed in the first section of the lesson, electrons will not easily pass through insulating material that surrounds a wire. If an insulator did not surround a wire carrying a current, it is possible for the electron flow to get directed to another conductor that comes into contact with the circuit. Electricity will follow the path of least resistance. If the electrons take a path short of the complete circuit, it is called a short circuit.
Okay, now.
Small wire in
Okay, does anyone have any questions on that before we should make the comparison?
Yes, sir, Brother Lukeman. Before you leave the video, is it just me or was anyone else able to see the flow going in either direction? When I looked at it from with one thought, I could see the electrons traveling from negative, leaving, and then going into the positive. But then if I looked at it mentally, I could see the flow going the other way. Was that just me?
It's funny that you say that. When you deal with electrical circuits, there's two types of flow. You have, and you've heard of this before, you have AC, which is alternating current, and you have what's called DC, which is direct current, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in DC, you have the current flowing in one direction. If you have what's called alternating current, the flow shifts back and forth.
Okay.
I just think based on how this was designed, it's almost like an optical illusion. It's possible that you've seen that. Okay, so that's an interesting concept, because if you have flow going in two different directions, alternating back and forth, how could that compare to aberration in Dianetics? Could that be a double-minded man?
Yes, sir.
We shift back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. L. Ron Hubbard calls that the maybe. And the maybe is what gets us hung up on the track. Have you ever walked through the house, you're about to do something, then you're like undecided, do I want to do this or do I want to do this? As soon as you hit the maybe, what happens to your forward motion?
It goes somewhere else.
No, but I mean, your physical body, if you've ever noticed when you get hung up on what to do, what does your body normally do?
Stop.
You stop where you are. Okay, that's the maybe. That's a whole nother thing that he teaches on, that the maybe. I don't want to do that just yet. So now, just based on our discussion, what could the battery be? Now this is a demo kit that represents you as an individual or us as an individual. Now we're dealing with demon circuits. So this battery, now this is just my opinion, and all of us can contribute as you see it, but I saw the light bulb as myself. The battery represents the individual that's somewhere on my time track. And all those electrons you see flowing, those are all the verbal commands that are in the circuit. Can you see that example? In other words, the source of my aberration on my time track is an individual that is fueling the engram. They are the battery of the engram. And the electrons that are coming along this pathway are all those demon circuits, those verbal commands that are stuck in my head that originate in that individual back on the time track. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So that's the battery, and the commands, the verbal commands, is the input going into the circuit, you.
So the person on my time track is the person. Those electrons that are coming from the battery to the light bulb, the battery is the past, the light bulb is the present, and those electrons are the verbal commands that are coming from that person in my past to my mind in the present that's turning on my aberration.
So one little blue dot is saying you're no good, and the next
Yes.
one is saying or you'll never amount to nothing.
Yes, ma'am. Can we see that as a demo kit?
Mhm.
Does
Yes.
everyone follow that? Does
Yes,
anyone
sir.
does
Yes,
anyone
sir.
see anything different? How can you apply this demo kit to yourself?
Because if it's a closed circuit, then it's not going to change, and the amount of brightness that like you could say your aura, we all have an aura. It's going to, because of these negative commands, if these are negative commands, then your brightness is going to be kind of dull. You're giving off energy because it's a closed circuit, so you are giving off some energy, but it's going to be a very low toned energy, and it's going to affect those around you. We will affect others around us in a negative way. They'll pick up from us a negative vibration, and then probably would move away from us, and we'll be wondering why.
Remember when they said that if a certain part of the wire is not insulated, those electrons can flow off and cause a short circuit?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
So like what you just said, Sister Ania, if there's a certain part of ourselves that's not insulated, then doesn't our behavior affect someone else? So what happens when we short circuit?
We act a fool.
Pass on engrams.
Say what?
Pass on engrams.
I can't hear you. Go ahead, say it again, Brother Timothy.
No, I was saying we pass on the engrams, so
Yeah,
people are
it's a contagion. Yeah, it's a
behavior.
contagion by aberration. So if there's certain part of us that's not insulated, meaning we don't have ourselves under control, then when we get re-stimulated, someone gets near us and they get a jolt, correct? Have you ever jolted someone?
Isn't that like a taser?
Exactly, but in the language of us, we call it cussing someone out.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah, so that individual got tased, right? Does that make sense?
That's right, you got tased.
They caught a flow of our electrons, in other words. Okay.
Ooh-wee.
So can we see this as a demo kit?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it makes sense. Okay. So here the wire, this thing keeps fading out. So here,
across
this
the
wire is like the time track. The battery is the individual in the past, and the time track is leading to the present. And our aberration is based on the fact that we still have a connection to the past. So that's the complete circuit. Does that make sense?
So Brother Lukeman, which one is, so the past is the battery,
Yes.
and so which one is the present? Is
The
that
light bulb. The light bulb is the present. The light bulb is you.
the light bulb is the present?
The
The
battery
battery
is the
is
past.
Okay.
And so what is the filament?
The filament is the time track. That's the time.
That's part of the time track.
Mhm. So that wire that goes from the battery to the light bulb, that's the time track from the past to the present. It goes into the light bulb, which is the individual. It turns on the aberration. And the aberration is based on the fact that the light bulb that's in the present is still connected to the past.
Okay, wait a minute. So maybe I'm getting the parts wrong. So where's the filament?
The filament is this wire you see right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wire. The actual filament is what is a part of the light bulb. That's what
Right,
makes
that's what I thought. Yeah, okay,
the
so that's,
filament is actually inside the light bulb.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's still part of the time track?
It's still part of the time track though, because it's still part of this wire. Okay. So basically what we're doing is, oh, go ahead, Sister Tina.
So the time track is what's in between the past and the present.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And so that is the same as the circuit.
That's the complete circuit. That's the whole circuit. That's the pathway.
The flow.
So we say, guide us on the straight path. And this is the path of those who've gone astray, nor the path of those who the wrath has gone down. That represents the aberrated path, you could say. Computer.
And that's the same as the voltage.
Say again?
Is that the same as the voltage?
The voltage, that's a good question. The voltage is the pressure that is behind the command. Okay, the pressure behind the command. In the language of Dianetics, we would call that a compulsion or an obsession. Does that make sense? Okay. Have you ever decided I'm going to eat one meal a day, and then you go shopping or you drive somewhere, and all of a sudden you just have this overwhelming compulsion to snack on something? Or if that's not your compulsion, there's something else that we wrestle with that is like a compulsion, something we actually have to wrestle with our own mind, either to do or not to do. Does that make sense?
So that's like the driver.
Yes.
In the Quran, the witness or the driver.
Yes, that's the driver. That's the sayakun. That's the genetic entity. That's the pressure that is influenced behind the verbal command that's in our mind. That's a great observation. That's the drive.
Lukman.
Yes, sir.
So that filament too that's in the bulb, and it's being turned on by this current, these wires.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be that reactive mind as well?
That's what we're talking about. This is the aberration. This is what's turning on the aberration.
Right. Okay.
So that light bulb represents the person, but the light coming on, we're using this to show this is the aberration that's being turned on. So this is the reactive mind the reactive mind is empowered.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Got it. So you can see how you can look at this from many, many different angles, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
This also made me going back to Surah 24, verse 35. If the pillar and the lamp, the glass and the shining star and the blessed olive tree.
Okay.
So just bear with me as I may not have it right, but this is just what I'm seeing now. Okay, you've got the pillar. Okay, the lightness of his light is as a pillar on which is a lamp. So the pillar then is just, it would be the base holding up the lamp.
Okay.
But in this, okay, so I'm gonna leave the pillar, push that to the side a moment. But the blessed olive tree, okay, would be, if this all was positive now, we're not talking about aberration.
I follow you, Sister Nadia. I follow you.
So the blessed olive tree is the battery.
Yes.
The lamp would be this middle part of the like from the base of the
right here?
Yes, that whole part there would be the lamp itself, which is inside the glass.
Yes.
So that's the bulb.
Okay.
The glass is at were a brightly shining star. So when the circuit is closed and everything's flowing, then the bulb, the glass now shines bright. That's the aura. And so you get, a real bright shining light.
Yes.
So it becomes the brightly shining star.
But now, based on that example, which I'm following you, I'm flowing with you 100%. Who would the battery represent in your example?
That would represent Okay, if we're looking at ourselves, then again, as was mentioned before, that's the word studying the correct, the ultimate truth that we get from ultimately from Allah, Master
Okay.
Fard Muhammad.
Okay.
Mhm.
Mhm. So remember, we said earlier that we could use this one example to explain being high toned or the analytical mind, but we can use the same example to show the aberrated mind. So you just gave the other example. The battery represents the source of our teachings. The light bulb represents the individuals that are connected to those teachings. And based on that, that will provide the source or the power that will determine how bright our light is. And that's what you're saying, correct?
So bubbles, that would be, you know, 5 prayers a day, and then another one would be fasting, another one would be charity, you know, like the 5 principles and all of those type of commands.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So we could say on one level that battery could represent how to eat to live.
Yes, sir.
That battery could represent self-improvement study program. That battery could represent our Savior has arrived. That battery could represent fall of America. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anyone have any other thoughts before we move forward? Or any questions about this diagram? Is everyone at least seeing something in your own personal life with this demo kit?
Yes, sir.
Most deaf.
Okay. All right. So now let's look at actually what is a demon circuit. So now we're gonna give some definitions that will go to the mass. So what is a demon circuit? He says it's a mental mechanism that's set up by an engram command, which when re-stimulated takes over a portion of the analytical mind and acts as an individual being. Okay. Circuits are heavily charged portions of the analytical mind, which have been captured by the reactive mind and do its bidding, walled off by a charge into separate entities. Now, these separate entities, we could say they're valences, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They are created by phrases in engrams which contain the word you, such as I have to do all your thinking for you. I'm going to tell you what to do and you've got to do it. These circuits talk to the pre-clear, vocalize his thoughts for him, occlude things from him, or do other automatic functions. Have we ever, if we were to take time and look at certain points of the time of the day or certain things we've done, can we go back to a point in time where we actually had like a circuit and remember something that came to our mind before we did an action? It could have been a thought. Yes, no? Well, I can hear a pin dropping here.
Yes, sir.
Again, remember, I can't see your faces, so I can only go off the feedback of actually hearing your responses, since everyone is scared to show the video.
Brother Lukman, you said demon circuits include the word you.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's what the definition says. The demon circuits, so someone from our past made a statement directed towards the individual. And because it was made at a time of unconsciousness or pain, then the reactive mind will take that statement literally. Okay. So if someone, a lot of us remember either a belt or a switch, and remember what's a verbal command? What's a verbal command that comes to mind on your time track that you remember? Stop
You don't
crying.
listen.
Stop crying before I'll give you something to cry for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I won't do it again. I know you won't. I know you won't do that again.
It's gonna hurt me as much as it hurts you.
Exactly. So if you look at some of these, we all have these memories.
Mhm.
And if you look at those verbal commands, how many of them have the word you in it?
Mhm. And you better not cry.
Yeah. And you better not cry. So now what happens is the reactive mind takes the phrase literally. So no matter how much pain a person goes through, they won't cry.
Mm.
Because the reactive mind took it literally. So you connect pain of getting the belt or the switch or whatever it is that occurred in your household. The pain is connected to the word don't cry. That's recorded in the reactive mind. Now, reactive mind clicks off, analytical mind clicks on. So no matter how much pain you go through, now you won't cry. Why? Because we have this verbal command that's this program that's like on the computer. We have this malware that's running in the back of the other programs. We have a verbal command that tells us no matter how much pain I'm in, don't cry. Go ahead, Brother Timothy.
Yes, sir. That made me think about, because I kind of found one that I have. If I and going back in my memory, you said that. A lot of times I used to get a whooping. My dad would say, "You don't listen," right? So I found, like, through my looking back through my life, that a lot of times people say, "Are you listening to me?" Because I seem as though it seems as though I'm not paying attention, and my mind wanders sometimes. So I thought about that, but I did have a question too before you went further.
Go ahead, brother.
At the end, it says vocalize his thoughts for him, meaning I guess the circuit, and it occludes things from him or do other automatic functions. I had a question about what is those automatic functions?
Okay, remember in the video where it showed the individual, he hypnotized the guy, and whenever he said a certain word, he would take his coat off, and when he said another word, he put his coat on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the individual was unaware that there was a verbal command that was controlling the action, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there are certain things in our life that we're not aware of that we do that are the effect based on something that's being done or said in our environment that's producing the behavior. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay. We're just not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
If we were to slow down somehow and become aware of our thoughts and actions, have you ever gotten to a point where you're about to do something or you've done it and you say to yourself, I didn't even want to do that. Why did I even do that?
Mm-hmm.
We catch it after the fact. We catch it after the fact, correct?
Uh-huh. Yes, sir.
But if we can become aware, then we can catch it before we do it.
Right.
So when we're taught, think 5 times before we speak, that might be the way in which to catch the command before we produce the action.
Mm.
Or if we say, think 5 times before we do, we might be able to catch what is that stimulus, because L. Ron Hubbard is adamant on the stimulus response. Much of what we say or much of what we do, and I think we've encountered this. Have you ever been at work and there's been a conversation and you or I, you just blurt out something, and after you blurt out, you say to yourself, I know damn well I'm not supposed to be speaking like that. Or am I the only one that does it? I guess I'm the only one that does it.
You're going solo, Brother Luke.
I'm flying solo. I'm all by myself, huh? I'm the only aberrated one in the class today. Everyone else is
no,
clear.
sir, not at all.
No,
You know, I'll finish the class today. I'll go back into my coursework, and all y'all will grab your baby things and go back to the mothership. Is that what it is?
Oh, sir, not happening here.
Okay, but y'all understand what I'm saying, though, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
After we say it, we say, man, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, go ahead, Brother Wadud.
Well, on the first point, you just are stronger. I won't speak for the rest of the class, but you're stronger than me to be able to speak the truth in the face of the opposition. But my question was, does the command have to necessarily come from a direct affliction of pain from a whipping or what have you, or can it just be a general sense? Because I can remember in the 3rd grade, my mother came to a parent-teacher conference, and the teacher told her that I talked too much during class time. And I didn't really remember doing that, but that's what the teacher told my mother. And I can recall that I was so afraid of the outcome of what would happen to me, because my mother would be upset that she got that report from the teacher, that later on, when moments that I should speak up for myself came, I would be silent. And that still continues somewhat to the present time. So my mother didn't give me a whooping for that, but just the aura of what might happen because she heard that about me from a teacher, a white teacher, could that now have the same effect as the physical whooping would have had?
Well, could we say that your fear of what could possibly happen was an enforced ARC that produced an inhibited ARC?
Okay.
Meaning your fear was the enforcement that inhibited what takes place now. So in the language of Dianetics, if I remember correctly, it's called an ARC break. So I would say, yes, it is possible. It is possible.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So on that level, if we're going based on an engram being unconsciousness and pain, then based on the tech and based on how you explain it, I wouldn't say that necessarily is an engram. I would say that could be a key-in or a lock, which means there's something else under the surface. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the fact that you don't speak up, now, is that something you're saying that still occurs?
It does. It does.
Okay, so now you've located perhaps a lock or quite possibly a key-in. When was the last time you ever thought about that particular incident? Or is that the first time you thought about that in a long, long time?
Well, my mother, she revisits different memories, and so she'll from time to time bring up things from the past. And I don't remember the last time that she brought it up, but that is something that I've heard repeated over I would say the last year to year and a half.
Okay.
Not every single time, but from time to time that story does come back up.
Okay. So here's 2 ways to look at this now. We could say that would represent a possible key-in or a lock, which implies that there's an underlying engram. Or B, keep in mind that L. Ron Hubbard also talks about something called dub-in, meaning there are certain things that we probably got from our parents, and those memories that they have may not entirely be factual as they occur. Does that make sense? In other words, a dub-in is something of a recollection that might not be entirely factual. That's just how a person might remember something. Does that make sense?
So that would be, in medical terms, they call it confabulation, where people make up things
Yes,
Okay.
that's called, that's a dub in Dianetics. That's dubbing. I haven't heard that term, but based on, so if you could explain that term for us, because I've never even heard confabulation.
Confabulation is a state where usually patients that are having some type of mental disarray or disorder, dementia, or something that's impacting the way that they think and process information, they will just make up things to fill in the gaps of what's missing. So if they're trying to remember a certain event, but they can't because of the disorder of dementia, then they'll confabulate or make up something to fill in that missing memory.
Okay, that's perfect, because if you look at the definition, for dubbing, okay, where you at? Dubbing. It says to imagine, but it also knowingly created mental picture that appears to have been a record of the physical universe, but is in fact only an altered copy of the time track. The term comes from the motion picture industry, where it means recording dialogue and various sounds and then integrating them into the film after it has been shot. And I remember someplace else where he talks about filling in the gaps.
Okay.
Information to fill in the gaps. So what you're saying, as far as confabulation from the medical field, that to me is the equivalent of the dubbing with regards to the tech.
Yes, sir.
And that's also part of some of our aberrations, because we remember things a certain way, but when we actually go through processing, I've seen this happen. An individual might be going through an example on their time track, and they might say it a certain way, and then they say, oh, wait a minute, no, it wasn't Uncle so-and-so, it was so-and-so. So their whole life, they thought it was one person, and then come to find out it wasn't even that person. Or they'll say, oh no, he didn't say that, he said this. So the whole time have you ever made up something in your mind and then realized, and then based on that belief, maybe it was towards an individual, we might have had certain feelings towards that individual, but then when we found out that that wasn't in fact correct, realized that all this time we had been wrong?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so our aberration was based on false information. That's the held down 7. Okay, so confabulation, dubbing, to me, it's the same. It's different words explaining the same phenomenon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And just to be clear, I don't think my mom is confabulating the instant of the 3rd grade. I think it was the 3rd grade teacher just saying something negative about me, but then me being only in the 3rd grade, just internalizing what this teacher told my mother that would then have a negative impact on me if my mother would have responded in some harsh way based on that report that the teacher told her.
Off the top of my head, brother, based on definition, I would call that more of a lock than an engram.
Okay.
That was a lock. But that would imply that there's something else under the surface. And that you would have to get through. You'd have to actually have the Dianetic processing to find, okay, what is this lock? What is the foundation of this lock? Because locks don't exist unless they're connected to engrams. So there might be a do not talk engram somewhere is what I'm looking at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you for that, brother. I actually learned a lot from that. Sister Anya.
So before I make my comment, just to address the conversation that just took place. So that ARC break that takes place with the unconsciousness and pain of the incident, not only what is said to you, but the way that you take what is said or what's done. when you experience that moment of pain and unconsciousness, let's just say it was embarrassment. You know, it was like more of an emotional pain because you were embarrassed, and the way that you think of yourself at the time that it happens, that does that become then an engram, or is that more of a lock and a secondary?
If you look at what the elements of a facsimile are composed of, the facsimile is the perceptics, any speculation, and any conclusions that you make. And remember, the engrams are composed of these facsimiles. Okay, so the main thing is understanding the engram is the unconsciousness and the pain. So there's an element of unconsciousness. The lock is dealing with something that takes place that you're conscious of. So your analytical mind is still there, basically. The engram is recorded during the time that the analytical mind has clicked off and the reactive mind is clicked on. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So whatever is said, if it's said during the time that your analytical mind is intact, that would be the lock or the key in.
Okay, so more of something like somebody says something and it hurts your feelings.
That's a lock. That's a lock. But that lock, remember, we looked at the iceberg. When you look at an iceberg, the smallest portion of the iceberg is what's above the surface. Those represent the locks. But the locks can't exist unless there's what? Unless there's something under the surface. That's the end.
Okay.
So if someone, and I go through it to this day. Certain things might be said and done, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way. And for a split second, I got to kind of shake myself out of it because I catch myself almost going back down the time track. And I have to say to myself, okay, what is that? But if it's based on the engram, I can't get to the root of it because in order to get to the root of it, that has to be processing. It's just that we have to try to see if we can pick up an awareness when our vibe starts to change. We might be able to kind of catch it before it is, until we get re-stimulated. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Become more aware when we start to see, because on a certain level, I can kind of catch myself when certain things are said and done, and I see myself going in a certain direction. Sometimes I can catch it, sometimes I can't. That's not the engram. That's just, okay, I'm aware that there's something there. That awareness is what's going to save us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Is there anything else?
Yes. So the comment I wanted to make was in dealing with the demon circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about being on the same frequency with Allah, and we also talked about the alternating current, which produces what's the Dianetic term?
He talks about the double-minded man is from the Bible.
Right, the double-minded individual. Okay, so that brought to mind the fact that multiple personalities and schizophrenia, and that from your definition here of what is a demon circuit, and it says when re-stimulated, these commands take over a portion of the analytical mind and acts as an individual being. So it's almost like that other personality. It becomes a personality.
It's like, did you ever see a movie Split?
No.
There's a movie at the end. I'll see if I can bring up a clip at the end. It's a good movie to watch, because if you watch the movie and it's right in line with what you're talking about right now, it's dealing with individuals with split personalities. in the language of Dianetics, we could say that those are different valences.
Mm-hmm.
And the valences are just the different people on the time track.
Right. And then that's in the second definition there, it also talks about the charge there, heavily charged portions of the analytical mind that end up becoming separate entities again. So that's, you know, you see that with multiple personalities and schizophrenia, and that, you know, the conversation sometimes that we have with ourselves of you set out to do something and then the other side of you says, no, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. You know, that self-accusing spirit is talking. And the other side of you, you know, there is now the battle ensues of who's going to take control of your mind and either have you do the thing that you know is wrong or prevent you from doing the thing that is wrong.
Who's gonna settle on the best part?
Right. And but it brought to mind in our prayer, say He Allah is one-mindedness.
Mm-hmm.
And it also brought to mind something from one of my yoga books it always sticks with me, and it's giving a definition of what is yoga. And I'll just read this paragraph to you. It says, many centuries ago, in that area of the world now known as India, this is the book, we know it goes back before then, but it says, men of great intellectual and spiritual stature perceived in a very direct way that human beings are disjointed. That is, the body, emotions, mind, and spirit pull in their own directions, as each in turn demands the fulfillment of its own needs and desires. This causes a continual separation and prevents the individual from functioning as an integrated whole, wherein his full potential is realized. To make possible an integration of the body, mind, and spirit, to unify the diverse aspects of the organism and end the split, these wise men of ancient times evolved and perfected over the centuries a system of self-development known as yoga, a Sanskrit word meaning union or joining together.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to describe the different types of yoga, you know, meditation, physical, and there's different types of yoga. Those
Mm-hmm.
are the main two that we're familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
but they all have that same objective in mind, is to bring the bring us the individual back into an integrated whole.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what made me this whole discussion made me think of that. And then what is that demon circuit? And that's that split.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be interested to see the movie. So.
Mm-hmm. Just remind me at the very end. I think the clip, it might be 2 minutes long. I'll pull up the clip so we can see it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, another definition. A pre-clear with control circuits is hard to audit, as these circuits conduct themselves as interior entities, which take the pre-clear out of the auditor's hands. A bona fide demon is one who gives thoughts, voices, or echoes voice or echoes the spoken word interiorly, or who gives all sorts of complicated advice like a real live voice exteriorly. Now, in Dianetics, there's one part where he says some people had as many as 4 demons. Our lessons say that you're supposed to bring and present 4 devils at one time, correct? So we have a union between the Dianetics, the 4 demons, and our Supreme Wisdom lesson where it talks about 4 devils. Now here's where we find the equivalent of the demon circuit in the Holy Qur'an. Okay, everyone with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Allah says in the Holy Qur'an, and we have revealed the book to the explaining all things and a guidance and a mercy and good news for those who submit. This is one of the primary ayats we stand on, showing that anything that exists that is of truth, if we do our due diligence in studying, we will find it in the Holy Qur'an. There's another ayat that says, and certainly we have made the word to have many connections for their sake, so that they may be mindful. Okay, so what is meant by having many connections? Well, in Arabic, the word connection it comes from the root word, which is wasal, wasal. It means to unite, join, or link. It means combination, to transmit, transfer, or convey. Oh, let me go back one. So when we look at this ayat, the one ayat tells us that he's given us a book explaining all things. And then this ayat tells us that we have made the word to have many connections. So in my humble opinion, just based on what I've been able to study and learn, based on what we're taught in the teachings, that we can take this Holy Qur'an and not only will it explain to us or give us a knowledge of all things, but as we study the scriptures and the metaphors and the similes and allegories that Allah has given us in the Holy Qur'an, along with what we have been given through the teaching of the Most High Elijah Muhammad and Yahweh Minister Farrakhan, that it'll give us enough information that we can go into the Holy Qur'an and we can begin to make other connections with other concepts. Does that make sense? Yeah, with me?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we can study, so a mathematician can go into the Holy Qur'an and see mathematics. A doctor can go into the Holy Qur'an and see medicine. A individual that studies astronomy can go into the Holy Qur'an and find principles of the stars or cosmology. The Holy Qur'an is like a book full of formulae, and based on our individual point of view, we can go into the teachings in the scripture and we can see that and make the connections based on the direction in which our heart goes as far as what we have a desire to learn. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the Holy Quran, Allah is taking one book and is transferring or conveying information that allows us to gain a knowledge of all things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So demon circuits and the whispering devil. Here's the ayats that correspond. Now I'm going to give us the ayats. We'll hit it for a split second, but God willing, Sunday, we're going to go more in depth in showing the comparison. Today, I just wanted to give us like a preview, hopefully, of what will come on Sunday. Allah says in the Holy Quran, but the devil made an evil suggestion to them, that he might make manifest to them that which had been hidden from them of their shame. He said, your Lord has forbidden you this tree, lest you become angels or become of the immortals. So in this instance, the term evil suggestion would correspond to the demon circuit. Does that make sense? Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just briefly, if you look at this ayat, the evil suggestion that might make manifest to them that which was hidden, could we not say that the demon circuit is what is manifested that shows us the root or the basic of the engram? Does that make sense?
That's not the third party to you, is it?
Could you say that again?
Okay. So the devil made an evil suggestion. The evil suggestion is the demon circuit, that he might manifest to them that which had been hidden from them of their shame. What's the hidden part? The hidden part is the engram, but when you can find the demon circuit, you can find the verbal command, that brings you to the individual, and then that will bring you to the engram, that which is hidden. Does that make sense? So in auditing, when you have what's called an occluded case, if you can't make any movement on the time track, you try to find a command or a statement or something that was said. And then when you can find what was said, you might be able to find the person who said it. And if you can find what was said and the person who said it, and you can pinpoint where it was said, you've collected enough attention units that you might be able to click into that engram that was hidden from view. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right.
Are there?
Yes, sir. I was thinking about the third party. I'm sorry.
No. Third party is fine because third party is what keeps the trouble going. Third party is significant. We could look at that. That does play a part. It definitely does play a part. But specifically to auditing, and if you're dealing with an included case, if you had that auditing booklet that gives you the step-by-step process, when you deal with the included case, you have to, when the pre-clear just can't bring up any data, then the goal is you have to try to find at least one piece of data. Try to find one stable data. And if you can find one piece of data, okay, well, part of the manual, it says, you tell the pre-clear to listen. What do you hear? And they might hear just one single word. And then based on that one word, you might be able to find out, well, who said it or who is saying it, because we want to do it in present time. Who is saying that? Okay, now, where are they standing when they say it? So you're trying to get more and more perceptics, and the more perceptics you can get based on the auditing manual, you might be able to click into the actual engram. So that will correspond to this ayat where it says, the devil made an evil suggestion to them that he might manifest to them that which had been hidden. That's the job of the auditor. We want to find that evil suggestion and we want to manifest the suggestion. The devil here would represent the individual who implanted the verbal command. Could we say that? Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because what has happened is this devil has been allowed to settle on the best part. So the devil represents the individual from the past that made the evil suggestion, and the auditor finds the evil suggestion in order to manifest that which is hidden. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's a cycle of action when you're auditing an included case. Okay. The next ayat says, but the devil made an evil suggestion to him. He said, "O Adam, shall I lead thee to the tree of immortality in a kingdom which decays not?" So here we have the word evil suggestion again. Okay. And certainly we created man and we know what his mind suggests to him. So we have go ahead.
Brother Lukman,
Mhm.
just before we go into that, okay, so I guess what I'm wrestling with in that 720 verse
Mhm.
is the fact that it's the devil is making the evil suggestion in order that he might manifest to them that which has been hidden. So the devil here is trying to manifest what is the devil is trying to manifest what is hidden. I'm just looking at the wording,
Okay.
the way it's wording in the Quran itself.
Okay.
Because I mean, I get the part where the devil is making the evil suggestion.
Okay. If we take that to the word shame, okay. I guess what I was doing is I was taking it up to the point before the shame. The devil manifests what's hidden of us, and it comes out in that which is shameful. In other words, the compulsions that we suffer from cause us to do things that will bring guilt or shame, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I get it now. I get it.
I
Okay,
didn't take it as far to the word shame. I was just looking at it from the perspective of the auditor is able to reveal what's manifested. But when you look at it from that perspective, the things that we do that we might feel guilt or shame, those behaviors are the effect of something that is hidden from us, and that could be seen as a compulsion that is the result of an evil suggestion that's produced by the devil that's in us. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we
Okay,
could
my mind has got to process that one.
yeah, so we could look at it from both directions. Our behavior, remember, input, behavior, input, circuit, and then output. What we do, our behavior is the output.
Well, I can see it in the sense that if you look at the part of the sentence, which had been hidden from them of their shame. So Allah, if we follow Allah's commands, that shields us from shameful actions.
Yes.
But the devil comes along and makes an evil suggestion to manifest those shameful actions in us. In other words, causes us to go along with doing shameful acts as if, and without consequence. So now we, you know, it's like, who cares? We have a who cares attitude. I'm just going to do me, and we're going to go ahead along with those behaviors anyway.
But now, who is actually saying that when it happens? Is that us or is that a valence?
Okay, so that's what, okay, so he connects, the devil makes an evil suggestion that connects to some valence that's already in there, hiding.
We could say that.
And he manifests it.
In other words, whatever we do that's not in line with the teachings, even though we desire to be righteous, our actions that are other than that is based on something that's hidden within ourselves. Does that flow properly?
Yeah, that yeah, I can get it that way. Yes.
Okay. But we could also look at it from the perspective of the auditor can trace the behavior back to what's hidden. So the auditor, the evil suggestion is going in this direction. Okay, that's the input is the circuit that produces a behavior. It's hidden, but it produces a behavior that's manifested. And if you go in reverse, the auditor is looking at what's manifested to connect it to what's hidden, to connect it to the circuit that brings us to the source of the aberration. Can we look at it from that perspective? Because that's what the auditor is doing. The auditor is doing the work in reverse.
Yeah, that's taking me back to the little video that you showed about what is electricity.
Yeah.
When you put that little paper clip there to show that the electrons were being directed somewhere else. So I'm looking at it as the paperclip now being the input from the auditor.
Okay.
That instead of you can continuously going round and round in that negative circuit, he's able to now uncover some of the wire so that some of those electrons can now be directed to help you go elsewhere on the time track to find other engrams that it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a whole nother subject. Because now you're talking about, in the language of medicine, brother Wadu, now you're talking about mental bypass, mental bypass. Because you're trying to get around, because a bypass surgery is what, brother doctor, you want to get around an occlusion so that you can still get the flow of blood?
Yes, sir.
So what Sister Ani just came up with is a mental bypass procedure.
Yes, sir.
And then last but not least, Surah 114, from the evil, the whispering of the slinking devil, who whispers into the hearts of men from among the jinn and the men. Now the common thread with all those ayats is all all those ayats, evil suggestion and the word whispering are all the same word in Arabic. And the word in Arabic is waswasa, which means to speak under one's breath. Okay. It also means to instill evil. Now, instill evil in the language of Dianetics is implant. In the language of our teachings is the needle in the brain and also grafting. All those terms are synonymous. We're taking evil and we're putting something into something else. It means to tempt someone with wicked suggestions to awaken doubts in someone's mind. Well, that's what the circuit does. That's what the demon circuit does. It's a temptation. Okay. It's Romans chapter 7, where I have two minds warring inside of me. You know, the one side of me wants to do one thing, and then the body, or in Dianetics, the genetic entity says something totally different. And now we have to listen to either the self-accusing spirit giving us instruction, our physical body, genetic entity giving us instruction, and then we have to be the one on the throne that makes the proper decision. Does that make sense? Okay. Which angel on our shoulder are we going to listen to, in other words? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. When you say to awaken doubts, that definitely connects to the verse in Surah 7:20,
Mm-hmm.
about about the evil suggestions that manifest
Mm-hmm.
to awaken the doubts in us.
Yes,
Mhm.
most definitely. Waswasa also means anxiety. So you already know you're low on the tone scale. Delusions, melancholy. So how do we know when we're low on the tone scale? If we are aware of our mind state at that moment in time, we can catch ourselves before we slip down tone. Does that make sense? Now, because of the time, it's almost 12:30. I'll save this portion for another time. I was going to show how we can use math also as a demo kit to explain aberration, but I'll do that at another time. I didn't realize it's 12:15 already. Time just seems it goes by so fast. But let me just pull up this video real quick. With dealing with the split personalities. Is a switch? What was the name of that movie? What was that movie?
Did you say Split was the name of the movie?
Thank you. Split. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Mark Barden here at Sandy Hook Promise.
Okay, let me get past these.
On December 14th, 2012.
Okay. So here is the movie, which is actually a pretty interesting movie. And it's really good to explain what Sister Anya brought up as far as split personality. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you see the person sitting at the back of the car, the trunk open? Or do you see PowerPoint?
The trunk
We
open,
see the
yes, sir.
video. We see it.
Okay.
There's no audio.
You don't, can anyone hear it?
No.
No,
No.
sir.
No, sir.
Oh, that's odd, because I hear it just fine. Wait a minute. Why are you not hearing it? Okay, can you still see my screen?
No, sir.
I think you have the wrong.
Okay, why is this act? Okay, let me go here. Let me do this. Turn that off. Share screen. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes, no? Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir. It said, pardon me, sir, I think you have the wrong car.
Okay.
I mean, I see the words underneath. You're not saying anything.
You can't hear the sound though?
No,
Okay, let me do something else real quick. Let me see if I can find a different, it might be the video. Try one of the, let's see, let me go.
It shows a working symbol.
Is it on mute where the words are just telling you what they say, but it's not
Okay, let me try this.
actually
Try something different. Okay. Can you hear the sound now?
Pardon me, sir, I think you have the wrong car.
Can you hear the sound?
yes, sir.
Okay.
You heard that.
You've emailed for an appointment 2 days in a row.
Tell me what's going on.
I've never seen a case like this before. 23 identities live in Kevin's body. Did something happen?
There's a flower on the pillows, a flower in the bathroom, like we're important. Who is that? Maybe she can help us.
Don't worry. He knows what you're here for. He's not allowed to touch you. He knows that. My name's Hedwig. I have red socks.
How old are you?
9.
The human brain is the most complex object in the universe.
Aren't you the clever one?
Hedwig, can you help us?
Okay. I have a window in my room.
Maybe you could show us.
Oh, that's here. Now it's closed. Now it's open. Did you think it was a real window? So you could bleach?
An individual with multiple personalities can change their body chemistry with their thoughts.
Someone's coming for you.
And when he unlocks the potential of his brain.
There is no limit to what he can become.
Tonight was a sacred night. You will be in the presence of something greater. The world will understand that the beast is real. He's done awful things to people, and he'll do awful things to you.
Yet again, they put the information right in the movies. Any
Wow.
last comments about that or cognitions or anything?
You say the personality is split. It's split. You better split it again and then split it.
Then they talk about unlocking the full potential of the brain. That's one thing they said. And they said another thing, where the state of the mind can affect the chemistry or the condition of the body.
Yeah, I was just thinking about my sister saying all of us got at least 12 personalities.
But you know what? I think Sister Ava said the same thing.
Yeah, that's who I said.
I didn't hear. Yeah.
Yeah, my sister. I was her words came to me that we all talking about you got split personality. We got about 12 of them, she said.
Mm-hmm.
I said, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have different personalities. And then there's one that if we could tap into that one, it would blow everything else out of the sky. We would just become that individual who, you know, because ask yourself the question, if you look at all the different personalities, which one is really us? How many of us have actually been face to face with the real you? That's an interesting question. We might not even know who we really look like. Okay, any final thoughts, questions, concerns, corrections, cognitions, or postulates before we close out? No final words? Going once? Going twice?
Yes, sir. I had a game from this class that connected from the last class where we talked of Allah, God being everywhere at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And the verse that you quoted from the Holy Qur'an, in that it speaks to all at one time through that one book. And it made me think about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan can speak to a mass number of us, but each of us feels like he is speaking to us individually. And so I saw that or connected that to God being everywhere at one time.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Definitely. Thank you for that. Anyone else? All right, inshallah, we'll go in more depth on Sunday. I'll take the same concept and see if we can dig a little deeper, make some more connections, and then see if we can actually make some connection with our supreme wisdom and whatnot. Between now and then, if anyone has any questions, any ideas, any observations, please feel free to send me an email, you know, drop me an email or a letter. And that way, if you know, we'll take whatever is relevant and incorporate it, because your postulate, again, whatever comes to your mind may be given to you as a blessing to help unlock, you know, the thing that's keeping someone else's mind occluded. So by all means, if you have an idea, please send it and I'll incorporate it in the next Zoom session. Go ahead, Brother Timothy.
Yeah, I just may not be on this call, but I did want to get your feedback on the video. I mean, the audios that I had sent you.
Oh,
from
brother.
that,
brother. The one video, the one that's this little small snippet, it was the smaller of the three, I think.
Yes, sir.
Where he talked about, and I'm paraphrasing it, he talked about how there's going to be a new Buddhism, a new Islam, a new Baha'i, and when it gets to that certain point, all those titles will be gone, and it'll be one. Oh, brother, that was profound.
Yes, sir.
Profound. So thank you for that information, brother, because now I've listened to it, but now I have to go back and study it so that I can internalize it and make it a part of my repertoire, if you could say.
Yes, sir.
Because in order for that to happen for us, I think if you go to what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches on page 90, he might say, okay, he said that, I think he said there'll be a new Zoroastrianism, a new Baha'i, a new Buddhism. Well, before
page 90 of,
well, if you go page 90 of Message to the Black Man.
Okay, yes, sir.
And if you look at I want to say the third paragraph, or it might be the second paragraph. You have it handy?
Don't.
Does anyone have the Message to the Black Man handy?
Yes, sir, I do. In one moment.
Okay. You know, for us, in order for there to be a new Zoroastrianism, a new Baha'i, a new Buddhism, then that might be part of an assignment that we could pick up as to really understanding the concept of Buddhism, understanding the concept of Zoroastrianism. Because when you look at Buddhism and the Eightfold Path, that's Islam. So Islam is that aspect of Buddhism is Islam, and Islam is Buddhism. You know, when you look at the concept of Zoroastrianism, a lot of that is that's Dianetics, that's Islam. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels. When you look at the Baha'i faith, you'll see a lot of parallels between what we've learned and the religion of Baha'i, which was founded by an individual by the name of Baha'u'llah. You know, me personally, at being blessed to work as a chaplain for the state of corrections, I've always studied religion, even as a child, going back to as a teenager. I've always been infatuated by different religions and different ideologies. So this is something I've been doing my whole life. But I think as followers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you know, we should be well versed so that if I come across someone who's a Buddhist, not only can I show a healthy respect for their faith and dialogue with them through their faith, that builds up what's called ARC between a Muslim and a Buddhist. And the more faith traditions I think that we study and we have an understanding of, that'll help us to build up ARC between different ideologies and faith traditions. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you got it, Brother Wadud?
Yes, sir. You said page 90?
Page 90, look at the second paragraph. Tell me what the second paragraph says.
So the initial second paragraph, because there's a continuation from the previous page.
Okay, then read the third paragraph.
Okay. If you desire to preach or teach that a certain religion is true or right, you should know all religions and their scriptures.
Right there, boom. That's the foundation of almost everything I do. Is I study religions and their scriptures, and I look for the parallels or the correspondence or equivalence. And then I've done the same thing with Dianetics. And as I see Dianetics, I see Islam. I see Islam, I see Dianetics. I see Dianetics, I see Buddhism. I see Buddhism, I see Baha'i. I just strive to find all the truths that are present and then get past the language. And then when you get past the language, you realize that all these faith traditions are saying the same thing. They're just using different symbolism. It's no different than studying trigonometry, studying calculus, and studying algebra. You're studying three different levels of mathematics, but it's all the same language. It's all dealing with the same mathematical truths, just expounded in a different way. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's only one truth that exists in the universe, and that one truth is manifested in a multitude of ways. It's just like there's only one number that exists, and that's the number one. Every other number is made of combinations of one. So we say, Kul huwallahu ahad, say he Allah is one. There's only one God, one truth. But how many numbers are there? There's an infinite number of ways to produce numbers, but they're all rooted in the number one. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, that's just my opinion, but that's how I look at religion and the principles that are contained in religion. They're all connected. You just got to get past the symbolism and the language. So, but other than that, dear family, thank you for your time and your patience and your attention. As soon as this gets logged, as soon as this completes the download, this will be on the YouTube channel. And I'll send it out so that the believers that missed today's meeting because of the error in my emails, that they perhaps will be able to get a chance to watch it as well. If you watch it, please leave comments, please leave suggestions. I just want to do what I can to improve on this, make it more appealing, and to really connect with more believers or more individuals to show and just give, do my part in showing that the minister is right and exact in the instructions he gave us with regards to studying the tech. So that's just my personal mission. But other than that, dear family, again, thank you. And let us go ahead and close out in prayer.
Thank you, sir,
Oh,
coming in from work and still giving of yourself and your time for us and the class. So thank you.
I live for this, brother. Now I can get off camera and go pass out. Attention prayer. We seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, the beneficent, the most merciful. Master of the day of judgment in which we now live, the alone that we serve, thine aid do we seek. Please, Allah, guide us on the straight path, the path upon whom thou hast bestowed favors. Not the path upon whom thy wrath is brought down, nor those who go astray if they've heard thy teaching. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam.
Everyone's so quiet today.
Walaikum salam, sir.
Inshallah, I will see you on Tuesday.
Brother Lukman,
Yes, ma'am.
are we still recording or was that off?
I can turn it if you want me to.